Well, I hope your day is going well as the preseason schedule underway. Tonight, just two games the North Bay Battalion taking on Ottawa, and then the Sudbury Wolves playing a home game in Timmins tonight against the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies. So it'll be exciting times up in Timmins as they get to have some OHL preseason action. But we're not talking about preseason hockey. We're talking about a couple of news items that could impact the OHL and the rest of the CHL, starting off with expansion. I did that video a couple of weeks ago where I talked about the expansion candidates for the Ontario Hockey League as they announced last season that they're looking at aggressive expansion plans. It all started with the reports of two USHL teams potentially joining the OHL. That would be the Youngstown Phantoms and the Muskegon Lumberjacks. But during that whole process, we started to see some other cities come out of the woodwork. One of them being Niagara Falls, New York. I've talked about Niagara Falls a few times here on the channel, kind of following along with what's going on with City Council. The big debate right now is whether or not to build the Centennial Project, which would be a 6,000 seat arena, or a data center. And the sticking point is a parcel of land as the city claims that they've owned it. They never sold the property. Well, you have one resident that claims they own the property, and a Niagara Falls developer wants to use that land for their project. So it's been a lot of back and forth. But during the process, the state has kind of gotten involved, New York State, that is, and that they're siding with the city. And it seems as though steps are being taken to build a brand new arena in downtown Niagara Falls. And that was the latest update from City Council that we received. They released the whole study in regards to the costs and what it would be for the economic impacts for the city. But the mayor had also spoken with the Ontario Hockey League about potentially being the main tenant as the OHL looking at aggressive expansion. They would be a good fit. However, we've now learned from the mayor of Niagara Falls that there's now a second junior hockey league that's interested in expanding to Niagara Falls, and that would be the USHL. So things getting quite interesting when it comes to the city of Niagara Falls. It's going to be a brand new facility, which leagues would be pretty excited about, as they wouldn't have to worry about a team moving in there and waiting for a new facility to be built. The plan would likely be you would guarantee that a team would move into this arena, and then once it's finished, the expansion team would then be put into place. Although you would also need ownership with deep pockets to be able to pay for a team to operate out of this arena. But still, we now have the OHL and USHL both expressing interest in Niagara Falls, New York. Now, if it is the USHL that gets a team, the next closest rival would be Youngstown, Ohio. So travel would be quite the challenge for the USHL if they were to locate to New York State. For the OHL, though, you've got the Erie Otters down the interstate across the border, the Niagara Ice Dogs. So they would be more of a natural fit, although it all depends. Like I said, you need ownership with deep pockets. So the mayor of Niagara Falls is saying that this just goes to show that there is interest in bringing junior hockey to his city, and it kind of just adds more momentum towards the construction of the Centennial Project. So time will tell to see where this all goes. It's just fascinating that two teams in the USHL have talked about moving to the OHL, and if that were to be the case, and you get an expansion team in Niagara Falls, that's an even further distance to the nearest teams in the league. So we'll continue to follow this story, see where it all goes, but it does make sense that the city of Niagara Falls speaking with the different leagues just to gauge interest, and then we'll have to wait and see who's willing to bring this team in or to cover the expenses of a junior hockey team, which is not cheap. It's not. It is quite the risk for an owner, especially with a new team. It'd be an untested market for the Ontario Hockey League, as they've never had a team in New York State before. I know it's been a long time that the OHL has had an interest in putting a team in New York, but this seems to be that opportunity. But now you've got the USHL starting to kick some tires as well. So we'll keep an eye on that situation as it develops. Now, I was contacted early this morning from someone asking about, will 19-year-old players be allowed into the American Hockey League? And this question all stemmed from an article from Puckpedia who mentioned that negotiations may take place with between the National Hockey League, the National Players Association, and the Canadian Hockey League about allowing 19-year-olds to play in the AHL as early as this upcoming season, which kind of surprised me because when the new CBA was announced, it was brought up that the plan would be to allow one 19-year-old per NHL club to play in the American Hockey League. Because we've seen in the past how there's some players who are not quite ready to make the jump to the NHL, but they've already proven all that they could in the junior hockey level. Think of Easton Cowan with the London Knights. He was probably in a position where he could have played for the Toronto Marlies last season if he was allowed, because the way the CBA is already is once you sign that NHL contract, it's either NHL or junior. And that was all agreed upon before the whole NCAA situation came about last fall, as a way of kind of protecting junior hockey teams because they need to sell tickets. They are, for their revenue, they rely on ticket sales for the most part. So if you lose your star talent, you're less likely to have people willing to pay to see the product on the ice. So it's always been a protection move from the Canadian Hockey League for their franchises to make sure that players are either in the NHL or in junior until the age of 20. But now that's kind of changing, especially with the development of players. So Puckpedia, they're the ones that said it could be as early as 25, 26. I have my doubts. It'll probably be 26, 27 when this actually comes into effect. But let's say they decide, yes, we're going to allow every NHL team to have a 19-year-old in their play for their farm team, the American Hockey League. That would shake up the OHL again going into this season. Think of the likes of Beckett Seneca with the Anaheim Ducks. Think of Cole Baudouin with the Utah Mammoth. Zane Parekh with the Calgary Flames. Sam Dickinson with the San Jose Sharks. Sam O'Reilly with the Tampa Bay Lightning. The list goes on. So, like I said, if they suddenly allow this when NHL training camps are about to begin, it would just send another shock to junior hockey. So I don't think it's going to go forward, despite the report from Puckpedia. I think it'll be next season when they start to allow 19-year-olds to join the American Hockey League from junior, but definitely something to keep an eye on as we've already seen the change when it came to the NCAA. Now we're going to see a potential shift with 19-year-olds. And it's not going to be every 19-year-old NHL prospect because they're only allowed one per team, but still, when you look at the list of players who could go to the NHL or AHL if they allowed it, that's some pretty top end talent for the Ontario Hockey League to try and make up. So we'll see how it all plays out. Like I said, I have my doubts about it happening this year, but definitely the following season. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the 19-year-old situation and expansion into Niagara Falls, New York. Do you think it's a better fit for the OHL or the USHL? Love the interactions. Thank you very much for all your support. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.